All right, well, hello, fifth grade. We're moving on here into chapter 6, and we're going to be getting into some long division this chapter. One thing about long division, that there's a process that it's important to remember, and that process is divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, start over. And as long as you can bring down, you will need to go back and start over with division again. And we'll talk about this process. But if you need to right now, pause it, write this down. But this is going to be a very important process here throughout chapter 6. This idea of divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, start over. We're going to look here first with 45 divided by 3. Now, pretty much today you won't end up with any remainders. We'll talk about remainders as chapter 6 goes on. But since my first step is to divide, what I do here is I ask myself, how many times 3 can go into 4? And you're just going to be dividing by one-digit numbers today. And I know that 3 can go into 4 one time. Now, after I divide, it tells me to multiply. So what I multiply is the number that I put up here, which is 1, times the number I'm dividing by here, which is 3. So I do 1 times 3, and 1 times 3 is 3. And then after I multiply, it tells me to subtract. Well, what I subtract is 4 minus 3. And I know that 4 minus 3 is 1. And whenever I subtract in long division, the answer that I get to the subtraction problem needs to be less than this number here. If this number is equal to this number here, or if this number here is greater than this number here, then I have made a mistake somewhere. In my division or in my multiplication, somewhere I have made a mistake. But I'm feeling good because I end up with 1, which is less than 3. Then after I subtract, it tells me to bring down. So I'm going to go ahead and bring down the next number, which in this case is a 5. Now I get 15. And well, I'm thinking about my 3 times tables, and once again, this is another plug for just knowing your multiplication tables really well. 3 can go into 15 5 times. I know that 5, and after I divide, I multiply. 5 times 3 is 15. 15 minus 15 is 0. There's no number left to bring down. I do not end up with a remainder. My final answer is 15. That's pretty straightforward. And you can always check your multiplication by trying 15 times 3. And sure enough, if you were to do 15 times 3, you would get an answer of 45. 195 divided by 5. Now this one's a little different because 5 can't go into 1. But 5 can go into 19. And I think that 5 can go into 19 3 times. Notice how I put my 3 above the 9. If I put a 3 above the 1, that means I'm taking 5 into 1 3 times. And that's not what I'm doing. I'm taking 5 into 19 3 times. Sure enough, I go to 3 times 5. 3 times 5 is 15. Then I do 19 minus 15. 19 minus 15 is 4. And I'm okay with that because 4 is less than 5. After I subtract, I always want an answer less than I'm dividing by. Then I'm going to go ahead and bring down my 5, which is my next number. And I'm going to think, well, how many times can 5 go into 45? Well, 5 can go into 45 9 times. And after I divide, I multiply. 5 times 9. 5 times 9 is 45. And 45, after I multiply, I subtract. 45 minus 45 is 0. I have no numbers left to bring down. My final answer is 39. Moving right along, 232 divided by 4. Well, once again, 4 cannot go into 2, but 4 can go into 23. 4 can go into 23, I believe, 5 times. And so I put my 5 above the 3, not above the 2, because I don't want to say that 4 can go into 2 5 times. I want to say that 4 can go into 23 5 times. Then 4 times 5 is 20. I'm now doing 23 minus 20. 23 minus 20 is 3. Then I go ahead and I bring down the 2. And I think to myself, how many times can 4 go into 32? Well, 4 can go into 32 8 times. And then after I divide, I multiply. 4 times 8. 4 times 8 is 32. 32 minus 32 is 0. There's no numbers left to bring down. There's none left over. My final answer is 58. And you will not end up with remainders in today's assignment. So that's pretty straightforward, kind of a first day of long division. Now, you're also going to get some story problems today. All right, and so we're going to look at a couple of examples of some story problems that you might get. This first one says there are 7 classes with 35 students in each class. The students are divided equally into 5 groups. How many students are in each group? Well, first of all, it tells us that there are 7 classes with 35 students in each class. And then it tells us that they're dividing those students into 5 groups equally. Well, first of all, we need to figure out how many students that there are. And we're going to use this information, 7 different classes with 35 students in each class. So to figure out how many students there are, I need to come over here and do 35 times 7, because there's 7 classes and there's 35 students in each class. So 7 times 5 is 35. Put the 5 down, carry the 3. 7 times 3 is 21, plus the 3 is 24. I get 245. Then it tells me the students are divided equally into 5 groups. Well, there's 245 students, and they're being divided equally into 5 groups. So that sounds like a division problem to me, of 245 being divided by 5. Well, so this is something that I just was doing previously. 5 cannot go into 2, but I'm thinking that 5 can go into 24 4 times. After I divide, I multiply. 4 times 5 is 20. After I multiply, I subtract. 24 minus 20 is 4, and I'm okay with that because 4 is less than 5. Then I'm going to bring down the 5. How many times can 5, and after I bring down, I have to start over again, which means I'm dividing. 5 can go into 45. I think that's 9 times. After I divide, I multiply. 5 times 9 is 45. After I multiply, I subtract. 45 minus 45 is 0. There's no numbers left to bring down. There's none left over. I get an answer of 49, and my answer to my question, how many students are in each group? My final answer is 49. So I look at my next one here. It says Sally makes 13 crafts for each month for 1 year. She takes an equal number of bowls. That should say crafts. That's weird. All right, so we're going to say crafts. And I'm going to see the same thing here. That's a little weird. Let's reboot that question. Sally makes 13 crafts for each month for 1 year. She takes an equal number of crafts to each of 4 craft fairs. How many crafts does Sally take to each craft fair? All right, so there's a lot going on. Let's reread that again. Sally makes 13 crafts for each month for 1 year. She takes an equal number of crafts to each of 4 craft fairs. How many crafts does Sally take to each craft fair? Well, to be able to know how many crafts she takes to each craft fair, we first, I think on some level, we simply need to know how many crafts she made to begin with. So it tells us that Sally makes 13 crafts for each month for 1 year. So to be able to figure out how many crafts she makes, this question assumes that you understand that it takes 12 months to make 1 year. So she's making 13 crafts every month, which is 12 months for 1 year. So that sounds like if there's 12 months, it sounds to me like I'm doing 13 times 12. 13 crafts a month for a year, and in a year there's 12 months. So 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 1 is 2. Putting the 0 down so everything lines up with my 1. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 1 is 1. This is an adding problem. 6 plus 0 is 6. 2 plus 3 is 5. Nothing in 1 is 1. I get 156. So Sally has 156 crafts. But then it says she takes an equal number of crafts to each of 4 craft fairs. How many crafts does Sally take to each craft fair? Well, if she has 156 crafts and she takes an equal number to each of 4 craft fairs, that sounds like a division problem to me of 156 divided by 4. So I've got a little more space over here. So I'm going to come over here. We're going to have 156 divided by 4. Well, I know that 4 can't go into 1, but 4 can go into 15, I think 3 times. After I divide, it tells me to multiply. 4 times 3 is 12. After I multiply, it tells me to subtract. 15 minus 12 is 3. I'm okay with 3 because it's less than 4. But I'm going to bring down the 6 because after I subtract, I bring down. And as long as I can bring down, I start over again, which means I go back to division. 4 can go into 36, I believe. That's 9 times. 4 times 9 is 36. 36 minus 36 is 0. There are no numbers left to bring down, so I cannot start over. Looks like Sally took 39 crafts to each craft fair. All right, we'll talk to you later, 5th grade. Have a good day. Bye.